The Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 is called to order. Would you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Lennon were both formally excused from tonight's meeting due to other commitments. Mr. Attorney, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. All matters requiring commission action shall be presented to the Planning Commission by the planning staff and the applicant. In situations where planning staff is the applicant, there will be only one presentation. City staff will make the first presentation. The applicant will make the second presentation. Both presentations are limited to 5 minutes each. To maintain an orderly meeting, all presentations shall proceed without interruption unless the commission desires to intervene with questions or comments. The chair will open the public hearing for those physically present wishing to speak about an item. Those in favor of an item shall be heard first, followed by those opposed. A 10-minute time limit will be allowed for public comment in favor. A 10-minute time limit will be allowed for public comment in opposition. The staff member will track the 10-minute time periods, and we have Ms. Painter on the timer tonight, right? Notify the speaker at the 5-minute mark, the 1-minute mark, and verbally call time when it expires. The chair, in their discretion, may extend these time periods. All groups, organizations, neighborhoods, or similar associations desiring to comment are asked to appoint one spokesperson to present their concerns or point of view to the commission on each agenda item. The public has been encouraged to submit their comments in writing via a web-based form located on the City of Wilmington's website. All comments received prior to 3 p.m. today were forwarded unedited to the Planning Commission. All comments received will be delivered to City Council when the item advances. All comments received will be made available to the public if requested. All votes will be voice votes after proper motions are made and consistency statements read into the record. The chair will state the outcome of the vote and the action. Rezoning requests that receive an unfavorable recommendation from Planning Commission may be appealed by the applicant to the Wilmington City Council. Appeals should be in the form of a letter submitted to the city clerk within 10 days of this hearing. Any items being appealed will tentatively be heard by City Council on November 21st. Right. Commissioners, the minutes were in your packet. I have one change to the minutes, and just to add that Commissioner Pollock was excused.
Change has been noted.
I'd like to make one small syntax change. Can we lose an F in my last name? C-O-F is in Frank, E-R, one F. After a year, I figured we'd clean that up.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as are amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Our first item of new business is a general rezoning of property containing 0.99 of an acre located at 3803 Peachtree Avenue and 3802 Park Avenue from RB, Regional Business, to MD 17, High Density Multiple Dwelling Residential District. And Mr. Mahoney is here to deliver our staff presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. Yes, as mentioned, this is a general rezoning request. This site has frontage both along Peachtree Avenue and Park Avenue, contains approximately 0.99 acres, and consists of 2 parcels. This map shows the general vicinity surrounding the request. And these are photos of the subject property and existing conditions along both roadways. And these are photos of the adjacent properties and land uses. There's a vacant tract to the east of the site, but it's primarily surrounded by commercial uses. Site's currently zoned RB Regional Business. The applicant has requested a general rezoning to the MD 17 zoning district. This site's bordered by RB to the west, and O&I, Office and Institutional Zoning, to the east. Again, primarily surrounded by commercial uses, with that vacant property directly to the east on Peachtree. The MD 17 zoning district, it generally allows residential uses, including multi-dwelling units, townhomes, quadruplexes, triplexes, and other things of that nature. The site is located within an urban mixed-use center and a high-density transition area of opportunity on the Comprehensive Plan's Growth Strategies map. Under the current RB zoning district, multiple dwelling residential development is permitted under the commercial district mixed-use standards. That's at 17 units an acre. This general rezoning could allow also for 17 units an acre under the proposed MD 17 zoning district. The one difference between the two, that the commercial district mixed use would require commercial component within the development. The comprehensive plan does support increased densities with infill development near major commercial services. Staff believes that this proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the recommendations of the Crate Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, that the request is reasonable in the public interest. Staff recommends approval. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant and property owner here as well.
Patrick, quick question. Would you just go, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't, so go ahead.
Okay. I'll take a swig of that after that. Just go back over real quickly the current zoning, and you were saying permits, A, B, C, D, and the requested zoning would permit, I just want to get in my mind what the differences are real quick again.
Yeah, regional business is commercial district, so it's one of the more, I'd say, moderately intense commercial zoning districts that we have. However, it does have that provision for what we call commercial district mixed use, CDMU for short, to allow for residential uses within the RB district. There has to be a commercial component. There's a set of criteria that you have to meet. In a case like this, being this close to a grocery store, they could provide 5% a commercial component within the development and achieve 17 units an acre. Under the proposed zoning district, mostly residential development is permitted, multi-dwelling, townhome. MD 17 allows 17 units an acre. That's, I guess, the Cliff Notes version of.
Yeah,
the
no,
difference
that
between
answers
the
the question. The other one, and again, I lied, I have another question. And maybe this is for the applicant, so have we heard got any feedback from King Off's Jewelries or the Frame Gallery, those two buildings that are right there on Floral that this property would abut?
I have not.
Okay.
I received, I believe, 2, maybe 3 phone calls amongst staff, just general inquiries about the project, but not from those businesses that I can recall, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions for staff at this time? Go ahead, Mr. Kofer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Following up on Commissioner Pollock's questions, just the delta, the difference between the two zones. So just to make sure I'm clear, RB, if you attach the CDMU component and with the 5% commercial, there's no density cap?
If you include affordable housing component, there would be no density cap.
So under the current zoning, if you met those criteria, you could potentially have 0 density cap, okay?
That's correct.
Right.
And under MD 17, there is an allowance to go up to 36 units an acre with the affordable workforce housing component. But under CDMU, there is no density cap.
Okay, and so we're right at an acre, so it's either 17 or 36, depending on what the criteria. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you.
And the applicants here?
Put my eyeballs on. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Walter Pete Avery. I'm with McKinley Building Corporation. I'm here representing the property owner of 34 of those 2 parcels on Park and Peachtree. I hear you ask some questions about the differences in the zoning and what, I guess we can go right to that point. We agree with staff that this is compliant with the land use plan. I'm more than ready to go delve into all the thousands of reasons I could find that supports this change. However, There seems to be focus on what can be now and what could be if we changed it. We don't like we have RB and we could do some residential development there and provide a commercial component, but commercial component doesn't fit into our long-range use of that property. First of all, there are a lot of vacant commercial activities in the general area. There are a lot of storefronts available. I can't imagine how easy or hard it would be to put 5% of a building in commercial use if it's zoned as it's zoned. On the other hand, the densities are very similar. I can get almost as many with MD-17 as with conditional use, not conditional use, but with the regional business, but I don't need that. The density is best for us at MD-17. It allows us to also look at options for affordable housing. That's big in the land use plan. I went through the policies of growth and development. It's pretty clear to me that this is a good infill site. It meets the requirements for the land use plan, and the density differences aren't so substantial. Other than that, we don't want a commercial component in our multifamily development. That's plain and simple. But if we don't have a commercial component there, we still have an opportunity to do something that incentivizes additional density if we do affordable housing. Don't know if that's part of the equation yet or not. We haven't formulated a final drawing or a plan for that, but we're pretty close. We've been looking at the numbers pretty hard, but we just think MD-17 is best suited for the property and it meets our development goals. Questions?
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who has come to speak in favor of Agenda Item 1? Anyone here who's come to speak in opposition of Agenda Item Number 1? Anyone here to speak on Agenda Item Number 1? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Do you have any additional comments? I know we didn't have anyone speak at the public hearing, but you're certainly welcome to. Any additional comments? Just giving you the opportunity. You don't.
I don't have any comments at this time, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay. Commissioners? Commissioner Kofer?
I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's more deliberation amongst the board.
Yeah.
Here we go. If it pleases the chair,
So what's the will of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 1 to rezone 3803 Peachtree Avenue and 3802 Park Avenue from regional business to MD-17. This request is consistent with the objectives and policies of the following plans adopted by the City of Wilmington: the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan. The Planning Commission considers its approval to be reasonable and in the public interest because the proposal would allow for additional residential density near commercial services and compatible with the surrounding zoning. Therefore, the Planning Commission recommends approval of this request.
Commissioner Kofer has moved to approve Agenda Item Number 1. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second with Commissioner Woodruff. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. How many of us? 5-0. Good luck with your project. Our second item of new business is some land development code maintenance. We're going to amend the land development code for various amendments and clean up items related to dimensional district-specific and transitional buffer standards for the UMX district, parking standards in the UMX and CBD districts, and permitted setbacks encroachments. And we have our director, Ms. Painter, here to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. This proposed amendment is part of our commitment to continuing to update the Land Development Code that became effective in December of 2021 as we find issues during implementation. The proposed amendment package has 6 total amendments, 4 of which pertain to the UMX and/or Central Business District (CBD) zones. 2 of the amendments do not apply to those zones. One of them, it's amendment number 3 in your package, is simply to correct section numbering, so I will not be covering that tonight, and that is why you'll see a jump from amendment 2 to amendment 4 on the slides. So amendment number 1 deals with fenestration requirements, and fenestration is essentially thinking of the amount of proportion of windows and doors on the facade of a building. In the UMX zone, we require on all street frontages that you have a minimum of 50% fenestration for buildings in that zone. So if you have a lot that has 3 frontages, such as what is shown on your screen, we would require 50% fenestration on each one of those street frontages, even though only one, South 16th Street, is considered to be a primary frontage. In contrast, in the Central Business District, we only we provide an option if you have 3 or more street frontages to reduce the fenestration on one secondary frontage to 30%. So what we are proposing to do is to extend that same privilege and flexibility to the UMX zone. So looking at the site on your screen, if you had that site were to be redeveloped, either South 15th Street or Martin Street, the fenestration could be reduced to 30% from 50%. And that would be consistent with the Central Business District requirements. The second amendment, again, is trying to improve consistency between the UMX zone and the CBD. Presently, the Central Business District has specific screening requirements for surface level, or street level parking lots, I should say. And that includes screening from the view of the public street by permanent walls, shrubbery, or hedges at least 3 feet, but not more than 5 feet in height. The proposed amendment would apply that same standard to parking lots at street level in the UMX zone, again, for consistency purposes. Amendment number 4 addresses an issue with the UMX transitional buffer requirements. So as you can see on the screen, we have established minimum setbacks for side and rear yards when a development in the UMX is abutting a single dwelling residential district of 5 feet. However, we also have a requirement that you have a transitional buffer, and in this case, a Class A Option 1 transitional buffer has a minimum width of 6 feet. So given the small discrepancy there between those dimensions, and the fact that this really only applies to the UMX, and it had been determined that 5 feet was an acceptable setback requirement from residential districts, we are recommending an amendment that would allow the Technical Review Committee to authorize a 5-foot transitional buffer in those situations to match the minimum setback requirements to single dwelling districts. Otherwise, they would either need to adjust to go to that 6 feet or seek a variance from the Board of Adjustment. Amendment number 5, it deals with parking facility setbacks in the UMX and the CBD zones. Currently, we require any parking facility to be set back 20 feet from the right-of-way and 35 feet from a block corner. This includes both surface parking lots as well as parking decks, whether they are integral to a building or not. The example that you see on your screen is actually a project you saw a few months ago. It's the CDMU development at the intersection of Worcester between 3rd and 4th Streets. And that project, as you can see from the elevation, multi-story building and has parking on the first floor, and that's what the site plan shows, is essentially structured parking at the first level, and there was some commercial on the 3rd Street elevation that you see. This was required to seek a variance and obtain a variance from the Board of Adjustment in order to be located closer than 20 feet to the center line, as well as that corner setback requirement. In looking at that, this seems counterintuitive, given the intensity of the UMX and CBD districts that we're proposing. Structured parking is often the best solution in order to accommodate parking, and we have, this serves as a barrier to that. So the proposal is to change that requirement. We would keep the 20-foot setback and the 35-foot setback, but only apply it to parking lots, as opposed to structured parking. Amendment number 6, this is a simple miss in the table. The green shaded cell that you see under front setback for eaves, roof overhangs, cornices, gutters, downspouts, belt courses, sills, lintels, pilasters, and pediments was mistakenly left off, and so this amendment just proposes to add that numeral 3 in to allow those appurtenances to encroach up to 3 feet into the required front yard setback, consistent with the same encroachment that's allowed for the side street, side interior, and rear yard setbacks. And that is all of the amendments we have for you this quarter. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the staff? Thank you very, oh, Commissioner Clifford, go.
I'm just kind of processing as we go, but yes. Linda, with the front setback encroachment, were there some changes in the code with regards to decks or porches that were able to go further street side than
So
the zoning
I'm
setback?
going to defer to my staff on this that might have been familiar with the prior code. What I can tell you is that you can extend up to 8 feet based on this table for porches, stoops, decks, terraces, and balconies.
Okay, there it is.
And as long as it can be covered, it can be multiple stories, but it has to be at least 75% open on all sides that don't abut a building facade.
I guess my question would be, is this 8 plus 3, or is this, no, I'm looking at the table now. I think I've answered my own question. It's
Okay.
8 and 3, correct?
If it's roofed, yes, because then you'd have the eave of the porch roof, presumably.
What if it's a covered porch?
Covered. I'm going to ask Brian for assistance.
You're
on
asking
this.
some really good questions. I believe it would,
And we may have to confer with our zoning administrator as to how
Okay, no
she
big
would
deal. That was
interpret
just,
that.
I was trying to play that through my head. Thank you.
Yep. It's a good question, though. I didn't think of it of, does this get added on to the other encroachments?
I really just wanted you to know I was paying attention.
And you can do math. Very good one. All right, thank you, Ms. Painter. All right. And we'll open the public hearing now. Is there anyone here to speak on agenda item number 2? Anyone here to speak at all on agenda item number 2, either in favor or in opposition of any of the amendments? All right, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, do you have any discussion?
I'm ready to
Around
make,
this?
I'm ready to make an amendment if there's no discussion. Make a motion, yeah.
What is the will of the commission?
Go ahead. I'm going to make a proposal that we adopt the agenda item number 2, which is the various amendments and cleanup items to the LDC. This request is consistent with the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, and the amendments are going to correct some minor errors and correct issues discovered during implementation of the LDC and help reinforce the overall goals of the comprehensive plan. Therefore, the Planning Commission, I move that we approve this request.
Commissioner Pollak has moved to approve agenda item number 2. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Woodruff with the second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. And that concludes our new business. Do we have any items from the commission? All right, anything from the staff?
I would like to introduce Haley Hopkins, who is a new associate planner for us in comprehensive planning. So she's out here tonight to see what all happens here, and will be presenting to you at some point in the future. So
Welcome, Haley.
And then with regards to previous cases, so the city council met last night, and the summer walk application, the applicant requested a continuance to the first meeting in January, so that no decision has been made on that application. The 3-lot subdivision on Greenville Loop, the expansion of the auto repair business on Carolina Beach Road, and the expansion of the law office on College were all approved last night.
Great. Anything else from staff? All right. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Pollock has moved to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.